Yes, wow. It's time now for our meditation. So, get yourself planted into your chair. Feel your feet on the ground, grounded in Mother Earth. Envision yourself sitting in a pillar of golden white light. This energy is all around you and begins to fill you. It feels like a cloud, and you absorb this energy. You're actually merging with this light, floating comfortably in that cloud. And as you merge with the light, you feel every cell in your being aligned to the frequency of the universe. You feel every particle in your body, in your consciousness, in your energy field, aligning fully to the vibration of love, peace, harmony, grace manifest as the light, as whatever you need to call yourself forth in creation. Just be comfortable in your belief. You are becoming one with your own higher frequency. That is what's happening. Feel that. Know it. Own it. No presence as you expressing I am love expressing I am grace expressing love and grace flow through me as I am. In this time of silence, I am enfolded in peace, enfolded in love. Grateful to know the truth of my being. I rest for one more moment. it's time to re-engage in the physical space. So with a deep breath, I bring myself back into this place and time, thanking my pillar, my cloud, for its support. And as you're ready, re-engage here and now, in this present moment, in this place. Moving around a little bit, opening eyes when you're ready. And as those eyes open, a smile comes to your face because you know who you are. Welcome back. I have to tell you, this talk is, for me, it's the most important talk I've ever done. My most important lesson, message, sharing with you. As I was preparing for it, I was really in such a state of confusion and unknowing and indecision. So I had to go to where the power really is. I had to go to Spirit. And in meditation, I just had to surrender and say, help me. I don't know what to say, how to say it. I don't know. I know what I want, but I don't know how to put it together. And I got to tell you, did any of you read the newsletter and email this week? Yeah, okay. Some of you didn't. I had a download. It just came through that meditation at the end. This is what I need to be talking about. The title of the talk, and I already had that, is How Does the Power of God Protect Us? It leaves a lot of room for the imagination. Yeah. So this was my download. It's all about consciousness, awareness, connection, light. We are the light, shining brightly or dimly according to awareness and intention. We get to choose to be open and connected or to pull inward for a while. We are living expressions of source, one power. We are imbued with all of the powers, the parts, the DNA, the potential of the one at the level of awareness, of consciousness we are at any given time. We are here in this human experience by choice to learn, to experience, to evolve, to play, to shine our light. Once I had that download, and it was visceral, I still feel it. I feel it right here. All this energy is just whirling in my solar plexus. So I came out of that meditation, and the first thing I did was I shot over to my bookcase because I wanted some validation. The two books that came out immediately were Myrtle Fillmore's How to Let God Help You, I remembered that she had given clarity to what God is. God is not my preferred word, because God for me still brings that image of, Santa Claus in the sky, that capricious one with the white beard who is going to be good to me when I'm good, but he's going to punish me when I make a mistake. That's not God, okay? My God is mind. My God is this network of allness. Well, this is Myrtle's God, okay? We are studying spiritual science to get a broader conception of God, rather than holding to the view that he's a personal being with parts like man, a being subject to change and capable of varying moods. Though personal to each one of us, we each have a God of our understanding. We each see it and feel it differently. So, though personal to each one of us, God is it. Capital I, capital T. God is it. Neither male nor female, but principle. God is not a cold, senseless principle like that of mathematics, but the principle of life, love, and intelligence. God is all intelligence. There is but one mind, and in reality, there are no separate men and women. Who knew? Okay. So the next thing I did was I thought, and I talked with you guys about this before, Indra's net. It's a Hindu myth. Indra, the goddess who surrounds our earth as we understand it in a web, and we're all part of that web. In the myth, Indra, see where all the little connections are? Do you see all those little points of light in all that stringy stuff? Each one of those points in Indra's myth is either a jewel where we reflect back to each other, or it could be a little bell. And when one bell gets touched, it activates all the bells around it. And isn't that the way we are with our energy? Yeah. So I found this image. And this, as I've already said, represents for me the best picture I can come up with what God is. Can you see it too? It's expansive. It's beyond imagination. It's without form or real mass as we understand it. Yet, in all this light and these connections, it is the substance of all that is. All that is, material and immaterial, our thoughts, our stuff, our bodies. It's all. So these points of lights, and that's who we are, these points of lights then took me, I brought my library, can you tell? Then took me to, this is a new thing from the mind and energy of Mark Hicks, a former LUT minister now, and owner of truthunity.net. So Mark made these available to us. It is a compilation of New Testament study using Charles Fillmore's metaphysical input. Let's put it that way. So, Mark 5:13 through 15. We didn't talk about this. It wasn't part of the talk, but it's important. 5:13. You are the salt of the earth. But if salt has lost its flavor, what will it be salted? It isn't good for nothing but to cast out and trodden under the feet of men. I can't remember the whole story, but in ancient times, biblical times, salt was used for flavoring food, for spicing and so forth. But when it was done, it was put on the floor and it was just a floor covering. Metaphysically, salt of the earth. He who is true in himself and in his contacts with others imparts to life something of the same cleanness, sweetness, and zestful flavor that salt imparts to food. Our energy, when we are in integrity and in alignment with the divine, don't we rub up against each other in the most delicious ways? With love and with joy and with playfulness and so forth. And when we have decided that maybe I'm going to pull back, maybe it's not true, maybe I'm not part of this after all, then we get the bristle. We get the bristle from that guy. And we can feel that energy from each other. So the next verse. And this is the one I want us to focus on. You are the light of the world. These are Jesus' teachings. Okay? The light of the world. The faculties of all those whose understanding is quickened by the Christ consciousness are enlightened, and they, in turn, increase the wisdom and intelligence of their possessors. The more I learn, the more I want to know. The more I feel it, the more I want to feel. The more I be it, the happier I am. But sometimes I'm not. So a city located on a hill cannot be hidden. A city located on a hill can't be hidden. Understanding, once acquired, cannot be concealed or lost. So the light of the world, in the image you can see it, just as Jesus said. We shine brightly. You see, some of those are a little bit brighter. And I love this about it. They're different colors, too. And how we shine and how we show up is determined by the choices we make. We can be willful or we can be willing. I control my thermostat. And you control, rheostat, not a thermostat so much as a rheostat. You can turn it up and you can make it bright through your understanding, through how you be in the world, or you can make it dim through your understanding and how you be in the world. But it's your choice and it's my choice. Here's another thing I love about this. Of course, we turn that light up. When we are in resonance, when we are in alignment with one mind. And we turn it down when we get out of sync. But we cannot completely disconnect. Do you see all those wires up there? You cannot jump out of the wire. You can kind of change your alignment, but that wire's going to go with you. You cannot completely disconnect from the circuit. We cannot unplug because we believe in principle one. One power, one presence, no separation, ever, no matter what. No matter what mistake we make, we can't be completely disconnected. We can always re-engage and amp up our volume. I love how the different colors show up and the different sizes. And then there's that one real big bright light up there. I haven't exactly gotten that put together metaspiritually, but I'm working on it. Okay? Maybe that's our central focus. So, but what got me is this is another expression of individualized expressions of one. One lowercase consciousness within one capital consciousness. And it's through our awareness of how we be in the world, how we show up, that we can make a difference. Oh, here we go to the next one, discover the power. I hope you guys will bear with me because there's a lot of meat that I wanted to give you up front here, and I hope you're able to hear it. So in Discover the Power, Butterworth says, we must recognize that the basic problem in life is the frustration of our own potentiality. When we're faced with inharmony in relationships, it's not so much a problem between ourselves and another who seems to be fighting us, as it is a break in our own circuit of good from the Father within. Life is consciousness. The problems we face indicate that our wires are down. We need to repair the break within ourselves. The only existence an error condition has, that's a mistake, okay? It's not a sense, mistake. As far as we're concerned, is that which we give it in our own thinking. Withdraw the thought about it and it fades into nothingness. What matters to us in reality is not people or things or conditions in themselves, but the thoughts and feelings we harbor concerning them. It is not the conduct of others, but our reaction to it that makes or mars our experience. The antidote is to use our power of love. Butterworth again. Love is not an emotion that begins in us and ends in the positive response of another. Love is divine energy that begins in God and has no end. We tune in on this energy and are moved by it as it flows through us. Love, coupled with the practice of prayer, is what moves mountains in consciousness. Butterworth gets to the heart and substance of prayer. This is the key to understanding prayer and the prayer idea that Jesus outlines. Prayer does not deal with a capricious God. It is a technique for achieving unity with God and his limitless life, substance, and intelligence. Prayer is not something we do to God, but to ourselves. It is not a position, but a disposition. It is not flattery, but a sense of oneness. It is not asking, but knowing. It is not words, but feelings. It is not will, but willingness. Prayer is not a matter of words or outer forms. It's a matter of consciousness, of concentrated, rightly directed, spiritually oriented, positive thinking. The law is, as he thinketh in himself, so is he. And the results of prayer may be humanly astounding. I think we can all attest to that at one time or another. But they merely demonstrate the art of unifying ourselves with the creative source of all good, the divine law of fulfillment. Butterworth later reminds us that the purpose of prayer, then, is to affirm in our consciousness that which is true of God and our relationship within, I say within mind. It's not something separate from us. We are within and part of it, and it is within and part of us. Do you get that? We are that. We are that in expression. It's all an inside job. We have these teachings in unity for the purpose, as Phil Moore, I'm sure he said this more than once, and I kind of have to paraphrase it, something to the effect of, God is principle, use it. The teachings are meant for practical application in our daily lives. I've just kind of set the stage for you with the principles, with the teachings that I want to share with you. This is my personal experience. It's how I've used it. As you know, I didn't even introduce myself because most of you know me, but some of you don't. I am Vivian Walthall. I'm a licensed unity teacher in this New Thought movement. And that's why I can really get engaged. But I want it to be, it's not just about laying out all of these ideas and practices and thoughts. It's about demonstration, practice. So many of you know that I just spent 3 months having fun adventures with my daughter in a little travel trailer traveling across the country. It was the first half of our journey to tick off our bucket list together, things we want to see, places we want to go. So we traveled from South Carolina through Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, Texas, New Mexico, where else? Utah. We took in national parks and state parks, and we took in quality time together. So on this journey, it was great. And we're going to resume it in August when we're going to do the Northwest. So aside from this experiment of living the RV nomad life with my daughter, I was and am doing some reevaluation of what happens next in my life and when it happens. We know the cliche that only change, is the only constant. I felt for some time that I'm in a transition phase. I still don't know what comes next. I don't know when. I don't know how it's going to show up. Spirit does. And goodness knows, Spirit has been showing up for me this last week like I cannot believe. From the meditation to, I pull cards in the morning. I do a moonology calendar that has a little thing about what's going on. And whoa, that was going on for me. And I I use 12 powers and core abilities cards, we call them. 3 days in a row, I got auth-integrity. That's really important to me. That's about being my authentic self in integrity with my values and my beliefs. Honesty. Oh. And another one that's important for me is faith. The power to spiritually know, trust absolutely, believe with confidence and conviction. So, all of this download and all of this stuff has just been coming at me in the span of 3 or 4 days. I have been in heaven, and I have been in hell, and I am making my way back to heaven. In unity, we learn that heaven and hell are states of mind. It's all about consciousness. A big part of this spiritual journey is all about relationships with self, higher self, human self. 100% divine, 100% human. It's about our relationship within the divine, with fellow humans, with situations. With a little help from my friends in spirit, all this download and all these signs. I mean, it's amazing. And some earthbound friends. I had a couple of epiphanies that pretty well rocked my world. It affected me at a very deep level. Through some self-reflection during my morning spiritual practice, noodling in the pool, letting the water flow. Man, there was another one for me. And being in the mystery, the song, it could not have been, I couldn't have planned it myself because I didn't know. Spirit knew and guided Reverend Donna and Reverend Eileen to pick out the music that was just going to blow me away. So in that time of self-reflection, I realized the energy drain I felt reminded me of depression. Depression is not me. Generally, I have an optimistic spirit and a positive attitude. And one of my core values, also the core ability I already told you, is auth-integrity. I had a sudden awareness that I was in a situation for the wrong reasons and pushing an agenda before its time. Whoa. Then yesterday, in my contemplation time, before putting the finishing touches on my talk, reading the inspirational bits from Julia Cameron's Heart Steps. I read a little Julia Cameron most every morning, just little bits of inspiration. This is what I read. Man is asked to make of himself what he is supposed to become to fulfill his destiny. Paul Tillich. Julia's affirmation, I am part of a greater whole, and it is a part of me. I open my mind and my heart to the plan of service, which yields joy for me and others. I accept my guidance and direction as they unfold within me. I undertake actions which empower and embody my guidance. I release others from my agendas, trusting completely that the perfect people and events arise for me as I follow my own path. Well, that wasn't enough. I had to look at the next page. Now, join your hands, and with your hands, your hearts. William Shakespeare. And the affirmation, I celebrate the fulfillment of creative service. I find joy in service. I open my mind and my heart to the plan of service that brings the most joy to me and to others. I accept my guidance and direction as they unfold within me. Moved by my inner wisdom, I undertake actions which empower and embody my guidance. Moving forward as I am inwardly directed, I release others from my agenda, trusting completely that the perfect people and events will arise to meet me as I follow my path. These were just angel taps for me, validating. The one reading expanded in the next, deepened. The message was so clear for me. You know, this stuff works when you use it. When understanding dawns, and you know that you know that you know, and you feel it. At this point, my solar plexus and my heart are so aligned with understanding. So you know when you know when you know it. I'm not beating myself up. I don't see the situation that I am evolving through as a wrong choice. I don't see it as a mistake. So I'm not beating myself up for where I am. It's a life lesson for me, and hopefully an example for my friends. And I'm sharing this with you to demonstrate how blessed we are to have a well-stocked spiritual toolbox. You know, when I was studying to become an LUT, the spiritual toolbox was such a foreign concept to me. It took me the longest time to figure it out. But boy, do I ever get it now. And difficult as my situation is, it is not insurmountable. Back of it all, I have faith in a positive outcome. Once I had understanding of the situation and discerned the implications, I engaged will to share with my friends. Then, in and through love, the power of love, divine love, I asked them to pray with me, knowing the perfect resolution reveals itself with the right and perfect people at the right and perfect time for the highest and best of all concerned. And that, my friends, is how the power of God protects us. It's through our study, it's through our understanding, and the use of our indwelling divine powers and abilities. It's an inside job based on the choices we make, and our reality becomes what we make it up to be. The unity movement was founded on the teachings of Jesus with a focus on practical application in our daily lives and an emphasis on prayer, our mainstay of connection in the divine, so that in this skin school we can live 100% human and 100% divine. I really hope that you find my story meaningful, that you'll be inspired to continue to engage in this community as we walk this spiritual path together. This spiritual path, I have to tell you, I stole this from one of my mentors. We walk the spiritual path on practical, positive, prosperous feet together. Thank you for bearing with me for this long time. Oh, I need a breath. Okay. So it's time now to bless our gifts, our offerings material, our offerings spiritual, our offerings in service. So, affirm with me, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, that this is so.